Hey friends, Damian Mason coming at you with an admission. I am a climate denier. So called by people that are running around to protest with their signs and parading about on social media about the impending climate crisis, climate catastrophe. Remember, it was just climate change, which had morphed from global warming to now climate catastrophe, and we're all going to die. If you eat a cheeseburger, if you don't change your diet, pay more taxes, stop driving a car, we're all going to die and Earth shall end. So if you question that, because it doesn't even seem plausible, you're called a climate denier. Kind of like the old days when you went against church doctrine, you were called a heretic and guilty of heresy. Which brings me to my first of 3 reasons why I am a climate denier. First, we have seen religion mask as science before, if you know anything about history. Copernicus came up with the theory that we had a heliocentric solar system. Years later, Galileo, the great Italian physicist and astronomer, preached this. In fact, he went around teaching students, said, you know what, it turns out the sun is at the center of our solar system, not the earth. The geocentric versus the heliocentric solar system concept. Turns out the church didn't like that. They said, no, the world revolves around the earth. The solar system revolves around the earth. You need to stop teaching that. And after a few years, Galileo was brought to the Inquisition, and he was sentenced to a life of imprisonment. He died under house arrest because he was a heretic. You see, it turns out Galileo was right and the church was wrong. Why am I bringing up this? Well, because if you've paid attention, the climate change crusaders are very religious-like. In fact, if you think climate change, climate alarmism, climate crusaders, climate catastrophe preachers are not a religious-like following, you're probably kidding yourself. It is a religion. Number 2, let's talk about weather. I'm a farm guy. I love weather. I got my thermometer. I got my rain gauge. I check all this stuff because I love keeping up with the weather. You're saying, Damian, but weather is not climate. The climate people, the scientists have told us that it's not just about yesterday's weather. Well, that's not necessarily true because if a storm hits Florida or if you have a hot stretch in July, all about the media, the climate crusaders will be telling you that indeed this is evidence of climate change. Now, if you have a normal hard winter and you say, but wait a minute, I thought we were under climate change. Well, one season does not a climate make. And that's where this whole thing has to be called on the rug and pulled out maybe this piece of data. We're talking about climate change all in the last 140 years, because that's about when we started keeping records. 140 years of weather then dictates climate. But 140 years is almost nothing in Earth time. We've been around for about 4.5 billion years, this planet. You know what 140 years is? It's a zit on a hog's ass, to say the least. You know what? It's 3/1 millionths of 1% in Earth time. Let me say that again. 140 years is about 3/1 millionths of 1% in Earth time. And yet you're being told because it got hot yesterday or because we're warmer than we were in 1886 that somehow that means you shouldn't drive a car. Not very, very plausible. So weather doesn't equal climate unless it works into the climate crusaders playbook. Number 3 reason why I am a climate denier, the age-old reason. Follow the money. When you hear U.S. Special Climate Envoy, whatever the hell that is, John Kerry, career politician John Kerry, who was given this pretend job, U.S. Special Envoy, and gifted millions of dollars of your taxpayer dollars so that he could fly around his private jet preaching about the evils of climate change. Is it really about the science? John Kerry's not a scientist, never has been. He's like a liberal arts major that then was a career politician, and yet he's talking to you about the science. When the United Nations, the globalist body that it is, the United Nations says over the next 20 years, we need to give about $4 trillion a year from rich countries like here in the United States, Canada, Europe, to developing countries because of climate change. Is it really about the science? Is it really about changing the weather? Or is it more about changing the economics? When U.S. Special Envoy John Kerry goes to the World Economic Forum, the other globalist body that's all pushing the climate crusade, the climate catastrophe, and he says that this is a great business opportunity, that trillions of dollars can be made in the energy transition. Is it really about the weather or is it about money? When the European Union pushes environmentalist policies that increase taxes on diesel or regulations that end up confiscating land from farmers, like that's been happening in the Netherlands, is it really about the weather? Is it really about this impending climate doom and gloom? Or is it about money and power and control and seizure of assets? You see, it always comes back to money and power. The number 3 reason that I have a climate denier is follow the money. If somebody is getting power or money or gaining control out of an initiative, question the initiative. So number 1, I have seen science, religion masking as science before, which is why I call bullshit on the climate crusade that tells you that you shouldn't do what you want to do because of the climate. Number 2 reason is 140 years is 3/1,000,000 of Earth time. And we're really convinced that what we've done in the last 3/1,000,000% of Earth time is somehow going to change the weather. And if you just pay more taxes, all of a sudden it'll change things for the better. And then, of course, the 3rd reason, as always, follow the money. If somebody gets more power, more control out of an initiative, question the initiative. Damian Mason coming at you, an admitted climate denier, or maybe just a logical human being that questions what he sees.